How do we close prospects with sales presentations? And you just said they go back and forth endlessly. Well, this is really hard for people to do, what I'm about to suggest. But, you can imagine that your sales process starts here with an inquiry and ends here with a decision. Now, that may be yes or no. It doesn't matter. That's moot. Between there is a distance. Now, sometimes, say you're selling to the military, it could be months, could be years. I don't know. If you're selling a new fucking design of fighter jet, you could get prototypes built over a span of 5 or 10 years before they decide which one they're going to go with. You get paid for it, I know, but that can be a long process. But the point is, every interaction you have, whether your sales process is 10 minutes or 10 years, every interaction you have should drive that forwards measurably closer to that decision. If it doesn't, why are you doing it? What you're effectively doing is just talking to your prospect to have a chat. If you're not making things move forward. Now, it's incumbent on you, because you should be. I talk about this, and although you should be deferential in your speech in some ways in a sales call, and I'm not going to go into that now because that's too much detail. But you're the one in control here. This is a prospect will happily talk to you endlessly to get free information. They will. I'm telling you right now. All right, and because especially if they're an employee, they don't care. They still get paid at the end of the week. You don't, but they do. So it's incumbent on you to drive this forward. So you should be very clear about your rules and boundaries. You're selling, and you should be looking for, on top of this, not only should you be looking for to drive this forward to a decision, you should be looking forward to drive that or to pull that decision closer. And the easiest way to do that is to go for no. Now, you should be looking for reasons that, always be closing. You mentioned it earlier. Right? I believe in always be qualifying. And the caveat to that is I'm not just qualifying at every single stage, every time I open my fucking gob, but I'm qualifying them out. I'm seeking to get them to say no, or for me to say, no, this isn't going to work. So in that respect, often prospects will say to me, yes, almost by default, because we've exhausted every opportunity to say no. So yes is the only possible and sane answer. And that's exactly what I want to happen. I don't want them to be thinking, I could have said no there. Perhaps no would have been better. I want them to I want us both to look at every single no we pull out this bag and say, this is a no. No, we don't want to say that. And we do that, and we do that, and we do that. And at the end of the process, there's only one ball left in the bag, and it's a yes. That's a sale. I'm happy with a no, don't get me wrong.
And it's an emphatic yes.
Exactly, yeah. Hell yes.
Yeah,
that's how I sell.
Start? You want to be having those sort of conversations. Yeah, you want to be having the conversations at the end of a sales call, like that emphatic yes is dependent on them having no hidden reservations, no feeling of we'll give it a go, any of that. If they feel like that at any point, and you continue to try and push the sale forward, it's destined to end in disaster, in a refund, with an unhappy client, with poor work being done, because you're pushing them along a path they don't want to go.
Yeah, and this is why so many salespeople at the end of a call or a meeting, they'll hear those immortal words of, we need to think about this. Send us through some stuff and we'll look at it and get back to you. They have no intention at all of ever getting back to you for the rest of their life, for the most part.
Fob off.
Yeah, well, it's a kind of, you've pushed me down this path and I'm not willing to walk through the door at the end of it. And that's fair enough. That's your fault because you were in control of this process. Now, I make it very clear at a certain point of the call that telling me that is not acceptable. You either tell me no or you tell me yes. They're the only two possible outcomes, and I'm okay with either of them. And if you won't agree to that, we don't carry on the call because I'm not prepared.
Isn't that hard sales, though?
No, because they've got the choice. They're in control of their own choices here. They can say no to me at any time they like, and I'll say this to them. And I can say no to them at any time I like. But that's liberating. To them, if you get to the end of the call and tell me I'm going to think about it, that I'm hearing a no, and I'm going to tell you no. Principally because you will have lied to me, because we've agreed right now that you're going to tell me yes or no. not honouring to think about it. Because let's face it, 9 times out of 10, I'll think about it is no anyway. So I won't accept it.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. You'll have
I won't accept
and
that.
you'll have far more impact saying...
And sorry, people actually, because, this is going back to constraints again, isn't it? People like constraints. What is wrong? I mean, I've actually had this accusation levelled at me by talking about, paid consultations where you're putting pressure on people. No, I'm not. I'm telling them they have to make a choice if they want to work with me. And they're quite, they're quite free to walk away. They don't have to pay me for a consultation, but if they want to go on a consultation with me, they pay me. It's the same here. You want to have the rest of this call with me. At the end of it, if we haven't said no, we talk about the solution. And if the solution fits, you either tell me yes or you tell me no. And if you want to tell me you're going to think about it, well, that means no to me. And if you won't accept that, because I'm not going to keep sending you stuff, and that's not what will happen here. But if that's what you want, then you're talking to the wrong person, because that's not how I play it. Your choice. That's not putting pressure on people, is it?
No, absolutely not. And I wanted to touch on something that's kind of related, but not fully. In companies with sales teams, this is quite common. Someone will come in and they'll do exceptionally well selling on the phone. And people will chalk it down to beginner's luck, yada, 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 because they'll drop off. And they'll be like, why? They started so well. It must have just been beginner's luck. It's often because the belief goes, not in themselves, but the belief in the product. And now all of a sudden, they've got no way of handling a no, because they agree with the prospect to such an extent they start sabotaging themselves. So just a word of note to anyone out there who does run sales teams: if you have someone come in who's a top performer, then all of a sudden they nosedive, it's because the belief in the product and the thing they're selling is gone. There's something deep inside that it means they have a conscience. They feel guilty actually selling it to these people. They just want to get off the phone as quickly as possible. We've seen it. I'm sure we've probably felt it ourselves at certain times.
Well, there's a second reason as well, and this definitely happens, and that is a beginner comes in and the prospect will be asking all kinds of questions. The beginner says, I don't know. Let's talk about it. What do you mean? I'll go away and find out. Let me just get my phone to answer. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. So there's this Socratic process of questioning, and the salesperson, the virgin salesperson, the newbie, is fully engaged in it, asking the right questions. Yeah. Now, 6 months later, when this person knows everything about the product, what they do then is that their attitude changes, and what they do, instead of asking questions to see if these two things can be made to fit together, they take this attitude, Connor, with a hammer. Yeah, I understand this product perfectly. It's a hammer, and you've got a nail, and I'm going to hit it. So every time the prospect asks a question, they say, yeah, now our XP4 motorized machine will do that for you perfectly. End of conversation. There's nothing to ask about because he's got all the answers. That's another reason sometimes seasoned pros, their sales figures drop, because they're not curious enough about the prospect's challenges and problems and desires. And this works really well. I mean, this is only a small thing. So I had a guy ask me about 3 years ago if I could help him sell this product, a course, a few £100. And I asked him a few questions and says, well, I could, but I would charge you a lot of money for doing something which you can do better by buying this course over here by someone else. So no, go away and buy that. Well, this guy joined us a few weeks ago, unequivocally, on an 18K investment straight away. And he trusted me because of that 3 years ago. And since then, he's given us, probably paid us 5 or 6K anyway. But now he's joined on this 15K elite 18K elite program. Because I told him, no, you don't need what we've got. Something better for less. The problem, another problem is, well, the first thing is people don't want to sell in that way because they're not allowed to wing it. You need a structure. I mean, selling in that way, framing the call, framing the agenda of the call when you're on the call, following it through, means you need a structure, and that structure needs to be like a framework. It's not a script. Script is the wrong word, because you don't read it like you would like a fucking cold calling hair product salesperson. Okay, it's a framework, it's a direction, it's a very rough roadmap. Going to Glasgow, yeah, you're going north. Which roads you take will decide when we get there. Might be heavy traffic or a crash, but we're going north to Glasgow.
The ones that are least busy.
Yeah. So it's a framework. That means no winging it. Now, people like to wing it. Now, they tell me, oh, I'm better when I'm winging it. No, you're not. I almost certainly guarantee you're not. And the reason they don't want to wing it, they don't want a framework rather, is because a framework makes it testable and measurable. And if it makes it testable and measurable, they have to confront the reality most of the time. Their sales conversion rate is a lot lower than they think it is and they tell me it is. Because here's what happens on a sales call sometimes. I'll say to someone, so what's your conversion rate when you get in front of someone? Oh, it's probably about 80 or 90%. Oh, okay. And then we go through the numbers. And it turns out that if they sold at 80 or 90% with the number of leads they tell me they get, okay, at the price they tell me they're selling at, their income would be, say, £1 million a year. But they're doing 250K. So clearly something is wrong somewhere. And they would admit, they say, oh, yeah, I guess I can't be converting at that rate because these numbers don't match. You're right. Well, that happens because you don't have a system and a measurable system. If you're winging it, you've got no way of measuring it. And you've got no way of testing. We're testing a lot of stuff. What we're doing is we're pushing our qualification process. We're taking it on some tests from my call to Connor's call. Because if he can qualify them out on his call, I ain't got to get on the phone with them at all. You know? So my conversion rate should probably go from 75% to maybe nearer 90 with this process. We'll see. Might not work. But we can't do that without a structure.
We see it almost, yeah. And because we have that structure, we've got a very clearly defined, I'm going to use a weird analogy here. We've got a very clear set of spoons. And we go, right, John, you're responsible for these 4 spoons and I'm responsible for these 5 spoons. And we've only got 9 spoons, let's say, because we've got the structure. We need to hit these beats. Connor's responsible for these spoons. John's responsible for these spoons. If we want to take a spoon out, it's a big deal because we've got a structure. How does this affect the rest of the spoon collection? Yeah. If we want to add another spoon in, well, does this fit within the spoon collection? And sometimes I'll give John one of my spoons just to test it out. Now I've got 4 spoons, John's got 5 to go through on his call. But we're very confident about how many spoons we have. We make sure that we're polishing those spoons, looking after them. And every time we want to add something to the collection or take a spoon away, again, it's a thoughtful process.
You never realised how much there was to spoons, did you? And we both know how many spoons we've got in our collection. So if there's one missing, we both notice it.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a collection of spoons.
And another thing,
and that's because
having a structure helps you to having these spoons. It helps you focus on the process, on the spoons, not the food you're going to eat with it.
Words out of my mouth. Yeah.
Okay? We can focus on the process, and that again, if you're winging it, that's a lot harder to do. Because if you imagine it this way, if you're winging it, you don't really have a process. If you have a structure, you know at any point in the call where you are in it. And now, if you were speaking to me on a sales call, and I'm not giving anything away here. I mean, this shouldn't put anyone off. It may do, but it shouldn't do. You know, I'm very relaxed and it's very casual, but I'm always very aware of where we are in my structure. It sounds like a random conversation, but it isn't. Now, the person I'm speaking to, don't get me wrong, they are in control in the sense they can say no at any time and we end the call. There's none of this. If they said, I want to end the call, there's none of this, oh, hang on a minute, but you can't do that. What about? I just say, okay, fair enough. But let me ask you one other question before you do. I might do that, but I am in control of the call. I know where I am at every stage. As I said before, I'm autistic, not fucking stupid. So that allows you, having this structure allows you to focus on the process of the call, not the outcome. Now, that's important. And I'll give you an example of why it's important. I just told you my conversion rate is 75%. So out of every 4 calls I take, I close 3 of them. Now, say if I've got 4 calls, but this is statistically, okay, so say I've got 4 calls booked up in Calendly for next week, and I know that I'm going to close probably 3 of those. I don't know which 3 it's going to be. It could be the first one says no, the second one, third and fourth one says no. They might all say no too. But, you know, just talking statistically here. I know statistically I'm going to close 3 of them. I've got no idea which ones. And I'm not going to worry about each one either. Right? So I go into each call not caring whether I get a yes or a no. I want the right answer for the prospect, not for me, for them. But I know three of them are probably going to say yes. And that's okay because I like the money. Don't get me wrong. And it's great to get a new client. It's a real buzz and we enjoy it. And we enjoy the process of sitting with them, setting up the M82 for the first month. You know, M82 is our proprietary sales system. And we help people set it up. It's based on the sales control model and the framework. But we help them set it up. And it's great.
It's great fun.
It is, but I know that, okay, if this, it's like a bus. If this one doesn't close, the next one will, or the next one, or maybe the 10th one down the line. I don't care. It's not like I'm not like a teenage boy with his first girlfriend who lets him go all the way, thinking, "God, this is it. No one else has let me go all the way before, and it's never going to happen again. So I'm gonna suffer any indignity from this person, from this woman, and anything she says goes because I need the pussy. It's not like that."
And it's why you got to focus on the process, focus on the numbers. Because even if you had a shit conversion rate, if we're able to figure that out, and that we sit down with someone, we say, hey, rather than getting so defeated every time you hear a no, if you know that you got to hear 9 no's to hear a yes so you can pay your mortgage, you're going to be working very fucking quickly to follow the process to get to that no as quickly as possible, so you can get to the next one, because you know there's a yes in this pile of 10. You just got to follow the process. If you try and shortcut it, wing it, you might miss something. There's no guarantee. But if you follow this process that gives you 1 yes for every 9 no's, well, you're going to put your head down and you're going to be happy hearing the no, because you're like, right, that's it. On to the next one. The next one could be the yes. Got that one out of the way.
Yeah. Exactly. But of course, most people don't do that because they're emotionally invested in it all, aren't
they? Emotionally invested and lack of skills. I'll be honest. I worked in a... I'm saying I'll be honest sounds like I'm going to make a confession. I'm not at all. I used to enjoy working in co-working spaces. I don't anymore. I just don't. People, I think I'm just spent far too much time with John. They do my head in. And in this co-working space, lots of people would take calls, sales calls. And it was painful listening. There was this one guy, and he ran a relatively small company. He had 3 members of staff, and they were selling to accountants. And I can't remember exactly what they were selling, but it was some form of be part of the global network, because we've got a ton of clients and they want to deal with accountants all around the world, that sort of jazz. And they were selling a membership into this thing to essentially get given leads. And these calls, every time, without fail, was, yeah, we can do that. I'm just going to share my screen and show you the website and just show you exactly how that works. Yeah, we can do that too. There's someone called Dave. I'll speak to him immediately, and I'll make sure that he looks after you. Oh, do you mind if I just tell you a little bit more about us? That was how like every call went. Just this over enthusiastic. Yeah. We can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, can I tell you about me and why we do this? It was really painful. And every call kind of went like that. And I said to him, "If you're following a script, it's like, because all your calls are pretty similar." And he went, "Nah, just wing it." He kind of fell into having a script, a framework, because he just did what his natural tendency told him to do.
That becomes a habit, doesn't it? And of course, the danger there is you don't know you're doing it, even though you are. Now, this is all predicated.
That was the irony of it.
Yeah, it's... I mean, I get quite frustrated with people who try to sell me stuff because they don't listen to me. And it happens for the best of intentions. A good example is the guy who fixes my Land Rover. All right, he's a really fucking decent bloke, down to earth. I mean, he lets me drive the car off and sends me an invoice, trusting me to pay it with a bank transfer. You know, because he knows I'm good for it. He even fixed it for free last time because I think he felt guilty he'd broken something. That was just a wheel sensor. That's by the by. But he still doesn't listen to me because he'll say, you know, suck his teeth. Well, that's going to cost you this much, but I can probably get a 10% discount from this dealer. And I'll say, look, Don, it doesn't matter, mate. It just needs doing. Just do what you need to do and then bill me and I'll pay you. You know, well, okay. But you get my 10% discount from so-and-so. And I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, you ain't listening to a word I'm saying, are you? I'm giving you almost carte blanche to fix my car for whatever it costs. But you're not doing it. Why? And he says, I try and keep the labour costs down. I say, Don, just do what you need to do, mate. And then he'll message me and he'll say, I can't do it on Thursday evening. Bring it in 8 o'clock Saturday morning. I says, but it's the weekend, Don. You'd have to do it at the weekend. I says, I'm quite happy to wait till Monday. No, I feel really bad about it. Well, okay, it's up to you. Well, at least charge me more then, because it's Saturday. No, I won't charge you more. Oh, fucking hell. Don, please, mate. I don't get it. I'm a good customer who's happy to pay him what he's worth. I'm just happy to pay him whatever it costs. But he just isn't listening to me. You know, and that's how a lot of freelancers say. He's always like doing what freelancers and people do. I want to give value. I want to give John value. I want to help John. Well, you're helping me even if I'm paying you full whack, mate. Honestly, because I've got some very good reasons for wanting the car to be ship shape. I've got to go up to the Cork Hospital on Tuesday for Sarah. I've got to go to the UK on the 27th to pick up my daughter. That's a 1,000-kilometre drive more. Probably near a 2,000-kilometre drive over 3 days. I'm there and back with a Land Rover full of stuff and a ferry journey. I need the car to be in good shape. That's what's important to me. A couple of €100 here, either way, to get it fixed, get new tyres or whatever. It's absolutely fucking irrelevant. I don't care. I need the car to be fucking working, you know.